decided to do another one of these videos. Some of y'all talked about liking doing these videos, just me just talking. You felt like you were kind of hiking with me. So here we are, hiking. We're hiking, well, you can't see the peak anymore, but we're hiking a 14er. Here's my family over there. Now, last time I filmed, y'all were like shocked about how there was no wind. There will very probably be wind this time. So maybe this is completely unusable. Look, snow. So today, whoa, I want to talk about something else that I really loved about Tears of the Kingdom. And that was just how much it felt like it honored Ocarina of Time. I felt like there were just like constant callbacks. I saw one callback and then another, and I kept thinking, oh, surely this is the last callback. There's not gonna be any more. But it just kept going. So I'm gonna talk about those. First, I'm gonna talk about story, some of the story callbacks, and then I'm gonna talk about like the land. I'm gonna talk about the gameplay callbacks and all that. So first, there's the big obvious one of Ganondorf swearing fealty to Hyrule, to the king of Hyrule, which was Rauru at that point. Just a direct parallel to Ocarina of Time. Then of course you had the fact that time travel was such a big part of the game, that the game took place in 2 eras. Just felt very much kind of like that was a callback to Ocarina of Time. Yeah, and then of course you've got the obvious references, like Rauru being a character, and then you've got the 6 sages, the fact that the sages are sealing Ganondorf, and that's like the big plot. That was all very much akin to Ocarina of Time. I don't feel like it was just repeating. I didn't feel like, I wasn't like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this again. To me, it felt nice. It felt nice that there was just, you know, some genuine callbacks, you know, to things that I liked. So then other than that, I feel like there was all these lovely little homages in the land, especially in the temples. And obviously there's homages to other games. They referenced, I feel like, every game. Like, I don't love that they named it the Imprisoning War, but the fact that they named it the Imprisoning War was a reference to the other Imprisoning War. And then you've got, of course, like the Rito theme, the Dragon Roost Island theme coming in during that boss battle. That was awesome. It felt like some of the desert was a little bit of a reference to Twilight Princess, with just Arbiter's Grounds and with all the mirror stuff. But yeah, I think especially the temples were very much homages. And I remember, I think the first time I felt like that was the Goron Temple, which was the second one that I did. First of all, knowing that there was like something wrong with Death Mountain, and then going to find out what it was, and then diving into the Death Mountain crater and finding out that the old fire temple is in Death Mountain was just such a callback. It just gave me that same feeling, because I was like, that's what I did. That's what I did in Ocarina of Time. I went into the crater, I found the fire temple. And so that was great. I loved that. And I thought that was a one-off. I was like, surely this is it. This is the last little homage, you know, like that. But then, I'm just breathing so heavy. That one person on my last video is gonna have a field day with this one. Anyways, so then the water temple, obviously it was a very different water temple because it was in the sky. And I loved the whole like moon jumping. Oh, I loved it. But before the actual temple, you basically had the water temple from Ocarina of Time, you know? I walk into the like I think, you know, you go down the whirlpool and you're in this area, and I was just like, wow, this is like such an homage to the water temple in Ocarina of Time. And I loved it because it was like you had the big central chamber, and then the whole little section was about changing the water levels. And listen, do I need to change water levels for the rest of my life? No, it's fine. I'm okay if we get away from that mechanic. But it was the fact that it looked the same, it felt the same. It made me feel like, wow, this is the same world. This is probably the same temple thousands of years later, you know? And I like that. So that was a cool homage. I think overall I felt like the temple needed more enemies. I think that was something I really missed. I wish there was more more temple-specific enemies. But either way, small gripe, because I really did like the temples. I loved the building music and everything. Then I saved the best for last. I live in the desert. I love the desert. I always have, and I always will. So I saved the desert for last. Whew. The pre-temple area in the desert, I started just losing my mind when we started using the mirrors to get the light to go to certain areas to create the triangle that you needed to go to. I loved it, and I was like, wow, this just feels so much like Ocarina of Time. And so I thought that's where that homage ended, because the water temple one kind of ended there. I was like, okay, it's done. It's done. But then, lo and behold, the entire pyramid-like temple is all about making that light happen. And you have a mirror shield. And I loved that, like, I loved that you had a mirror shield. I would have probably rathered them actually make a shield that was like the mirror shield. I would have loved to see an updated version of the mirror shield and have it have the same function. But I still thought it was a nice nod. Whew. This altitude is ridiculous. But yeah, so then I just was like, I love how it implemented mechanics from Tears of the Kingdom and kind of melded it with those mechanics, so it felt fresh. So I knew what I was supposed to do, but I had to figure out how to do it. So then I was like, cool, Ocarina of Time homages, probably done at this point. Probably not anymore, okay? But then I finished those things, and now I'm starting to think, I gotta get to the Master Sword. I gotta figure out what's happening. And where was the Master Sword last time? Well, the Lost Woods. So I tried to go to the Lost Woods, and I had gone before, and I just figured I wouldn't mess with it. But I went back, and quickly realized I had to go underground to get to the Lost Woods. And then what do I have to do when I get there? I have to go inside the Deku tree, and you have to cleanse him. And I was like, wow, this is like how I started my adventure in Ocarina of Time. And that was great. Also the first time I beat the Gloom Hands, which themselves felt very reminiscent of the dead hands in Ocarina of Time, in the well and stuff. And so then the surprise I had when I beat the Gloom Hands, and out pops Phantom Ganon, and I'm like, well, in Ocarina of Time, I beat Phantom Ganon in the bowels of the Forest Temple, and here I am again, not in a temple, but in the Great Deku Tree. And it just felt so cool. It was just so reminiscent of my favorite game, and I think the game that really solidified the Zelda franchise as what it is. I think that was probably the last, like, really overt homage, which was fine, because I think Tears of the Kingdom had to be its own story. I think you couldn't just have it be Ocarina of Time again. I think that's what Twilight Princess tried to do, and I love Twilight Princess. It's one of my favorite games, story-wise, and character-wise especially. But I think it did suffer from not having enough that was new. And so I think Tears of the Kingdom felt like it was paying a whole lot of homage to Ocarina of Time, kind of honoring it, but it also did its own thing. It didn't feel like it was just doing it again. And I really liked that. So satisfying. Oh, there's running water under me. Look at that. It's just a little bit of a river. It's not a river, don't worry. Anyways, that's about all I got to say. I need to stop talking, because we're getting up there in altitude. I just gotta drink some water, so thanks for coming with me on this journey again. Yeah, I don't know if I'll do more videos. I don't know if I'll do more videos than this, but thanks for coming along with me. I'll do it as long as I have something to talk about. So, bye. I just had to pop back on here because more flowers. Because I get distracted by flowers and I realized I didn't, and so here they are. Look at this. Guys, we are so high up right now. There is snow all over And yet these guys are pushing it. Look at this. Like they are going. What are those? What are those? So many. Anyways, as we were, I'm falling behind. Listen, and the problem is, all I want to do is paraglide down here. That's all I want to do right now. I'm out here in nature, and all I can think about is paragliding off of shit. And then, like, how great they got the blue. Like, there should be a sky island. You know? Anyways, thanks for watching my video. Thanks for listening to me talk.